Hi, this is Zach Mere with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Tuesday, the 28th of October. Starting off as usual with the FTSE 100, which is very close to the top of that rising trend channel from June. The resistance line projection there, roughly around 9,700, which is our near-term target. Might be able to get there by Halloween if we're lucky. Otherwise, the old resistance, 95.77 there, hopefully become in our support on any rug pull. End of day close through 9,700, we'll be looking at as high as 98.30, the May resistance line projection by the end of next month. But hoping that whatever happens, we stay on the right side of 95.77, the earlier October record number. DAX is next, and it's been as dead as a dodo in the recent past and continues to do that. Trading in a range, so capped by around 24,400, and the 50-day moving average just under 24,000. So nothing much to see there, apart from the way that the RSI is above the neutral 50 level, so it is half full rather than half empty while we're above that 50-day line. Best case here, if we do start to respond to the other rising markets, would be a move up to 26,000, which is the top of that rising trend channel from back in April. The Dow is next, and here the picture that of a market heading towards the top of that rising trend channel from May last year, 48,200, the level there that we're looking for. We were looking for that by the end of next month. Might be a bit quicker than that. We've also had decent RSI 50 plus rebound, so bouncing around the 55 level, that rather weird support line that this has got, but that is a very strong line. What's also strong is the way that we bounced off a rising 50-day line on several occasions. If there is a rug pull, then the lowest we're expecting is 46,000, which is the current place the 50-day line occupies. Cryptos are next, and starting off with Bitcoin here, you can see that trading either side of the 50-day line at the moment, which is, I suppose, a good place to be. We're also above neutral 50 on the RSI scale, so that is a positive. In fact, the two positives there really being above the 50-day line and above RSI 50. End of day close through 116, which is recent resistance, and we could have the door open to retest of this month's 126 record high. Best case at the moment up to 130 by the end of next month, which is the top of that rising trend channel from the end of February, beginning of March. Ethereum is next, and after all the hype that we had, I think last month, not quite as exciting as perhaps it could have been or should have been. Here you can see that we're still struggling near or just at the 50-day line there, 42.32, and the uptrend line there from back in April, currently running at around 38.60. A range between 38.60 and the 50-day line is what we're expecting at the moment, unless we get a break of that RSI resistance line there from July, that's around 56, or an end-of-day close through the 50-day line, 42.32. Top of the range, and the resistance line target there, top of the channel, falling trend channel from August at 4,600, which is the best case scenario target for the end of next month. At least at the moment, we're not expecting sustained price action below that April uptrend line. Gold is next, and here the recent rally has been well and truly punctured. In fact, gap down yesterday, which wasn't very friendly, but gap down today, in fact, not very friendly, and below 4,000, or at least below the latest high there, 40.20. Looking for a test of the 50-day moving average, 37.69. I suppose what's disappointing here, apart from the way that we've gapped down and the way that the RSI has lost the neutral 50 level, is the way that we've also got a market which wasn't able to really retest the spike highs towards 4,400. Moving on to the stocks, and an interesting setup here. I think we've already been on the case with Atlas Metals, which looks quite tantalizing at the moment. Here we've gapped up. We've already broken the triangle there, so we broke that at 36 pence. After that, we were looking for at least a retest of last month's resistance at 55. In fact, now the way the setup is with this V-shaped formation and persistent RSI bounces above neutral 50, basically looking for 70p by the end of next month, which would retest the last year's October resistance for this stock. This stage early well below the latest gap there at 40 pence on an end of day close, really questioning the ongoing recovery breakout. Also implies that the news is imminent on that situation. On to Alkemy, which has a rising trend channel that is heading for £3.60. We're looking for that at least while we're above recent broken resistance at £2.66. On an end-of-day close basis, we've got the shares bouncing or having bounced off a rising 50-day line, and we've also had an RSI 50 rebound, so at 360 hopefully by the end of next month, at least while we're on the right side of £2.50. Haven't looked at capital metals for a bit, but it's looking encouraging with the bounce above a rising 50-day line. That finesses the unfilled gap to the upside that we had for the shares last month. And we've also got the RSI back above neutral 50. So looking for the top of the rising trend channel at 5.3 pence as a minimum target here for the end of next month. If you're a fan of the shares and looking for greater glories, then it could be that we get up to the resistance line projection that I'm showing there on some positive news from the company. Obviously, nobody knows what that is yet, but 7 pence, the best case scenario target there, if we do get a decent breakout from current levels. Keep that line there. Chesterfield is next, and here you can see that we've managed to spike through our basically the target there that we had, the first target there, big target around 1.15 pence. Above that, looking for 1.75 pence by the end of next month, or even sooner. You can see the pattern here of a sort of saucer reversal and multiple bounces for the RSI above the neutral 50 level. So it looks as though this is well set, especially as we gap through the resistance, and we held that gap. Fulcrum Metals is next, a company which is close to my heart, and here you can see that we've got the shares bouncing off a falling 200-day moving average. We also already managed to hit the 6.1 pence target there, and that's now basically become new support. Above that, looking for 10.75 pence, as high as 10.75 pence by the end of next month, while we remain above the 6 pence zone. Or we had a RSI 50 rebound on that dip to the 200-day line. Stock which I don't normally look at, and I don't think anybody else looks at either, is Ingenta. Here, stock exciting enough to look at the moment. Looks like a mid-move consolidation, bouncing off the RSI 50 level and gapping up today. Top of the channel here up to £1, and we're looking for that by the end of November, while we hold recent support in the low 70s, so nominally around 73 pence. But we gap through the 50 and 200-day lines, and we've been so strong we haven't needed to touch that since. That could be a sign of decent strength on its way for that situation. Moving on to Poolbeg, which I haven't looked at for a long time either. Here you can see the top of the channel there, rising trend channel base at 5.5 pence, which hopefully will be the target for the end of November. We've already had the shares pushing through a rising 50-day moving average yesterday and making a good push forward today. Uptrend line in the RSI window as well. So hopefully that 5.75 pence area on track for the end of next month, at least 5.5 pence plus, while we're above the 50-day line at 3.65. On to a company which seems to be going well amazingly at the moment, Pensana with Paul Atherley, etc. And here you can see that even we've had all the sort of media blitz for the shares, rising trend channel there, top of the channel there, currently heading for the £1.95 area. What will be interesting here is we can get back above the 50-day moving average, end of day close above 126 to resume the rally, which at the moment looks as though it wants to test the floor of the channel there towards £1 before moving up again. But obviously the 50-day line important, as would be a recovery of the RSI 50 level. So basically they're all on the 50-day line or bouncing off the floor of the channel at £1. A decent update from React Group, which seems to be cleaning up in more ways than one. Here you can see that we've gapped up through a now rising 50-day line. One of the giveaways in terms of a potential turnaround is where you have lower lows but a higher RSI trace, and that's what we've had here. Had that on Energy Pathways before the big rise that there was earlier this month. But the view at the moment here on React is that above the 50-day line there at 48 pence, we're looking up to 62 pence by the end of next month within that broadening triangle base. Tooru is next, which has actually followed through on a very good update that we had last week. You can see that the shares managed to hit the first target there at 0.25. Second target here is at 0.4 pence, which is what we're looking for by the end of next month. And we've also got the added bonus of the 50 and 200-day lines both rising there. That suggests that we're in the run-up to a golden cross, and that tends to be the strongest part of the cycle. The rally here started with an unfilled gap to the upside through the 50-day line, which is a very strong signal. I call it the sort of the rocket launcher, really, for a stock or a market near the lows. On to the last two. The first one is TAP Global, where still making a bit of a meal of the 3p level. We've got the next level up would be actually in terms of the resistance around 3.6p. Looking for up to 5.5p by the end of next month. If we can stay on the right side of 2.5p, I think that would be a fair thing for the shares to do, and also in terms of parameters for a potential rally. Finishing off with WeCap, which has managed to rally from the below 1p at the end of June to 2.7p without having to retest the 50 and 200-day lines. See, at the moment, the floor of the channel here is currently around the 2.6p level, or 2.5p level to be more accurate. Above that, looking for 3.5p plus by the end of next month, presuming that there might be some helpful news in the meantime. That's it from me today. More updates tomorrow.